My name is Susan Crosby, and this is my American Culture Reaction video for Communications 263. Forgive my voice being a little bit froggy, I'm getting over a cold. So starting off with my initial reaction to the article. Going into it, I did know that it was about the United States of America, but I wasn't quite sure what body rituals meant, so I was very interested to kind of see what that was about. So as I'm getting into the article, I can see that, Nacirema, of course, is American backwards, and then Washington was also in there, spelled backwards. So I was like, okay, this is definitely a satirical article. I could tell off the bat. And as I got further into it, I realized, okay, this is a take from an outsider's perspective on the American healthcare system. So hearing things like Medicine Man and talking about how obsessive Americans are with how they look and building these shrines and going back to these medicine mouth men once or twice a year, despite them putting instruments in our mouths and taking our teeth out. You know, seeing that as an American who has experienced going to the dentist and the hospital and getting medicine, those are things have all been very beneficial for me. But someone who is not familiar with our system or from a third world country, reading this article, you would of course think that Americans are absolutely insane for doing these things. And so it was sort of a moment of realization for me of like, oh, I catch myself sort of looking at someone else's culture and saying like, oh, like that's an odd thing. Like why would they want to do that? But it could just be my own lens from what I know and what is standard to me, judging what's normal for someone else. But when the script is flipped onto me and what is considered normal within my own culture, I'd be like, well, no, going to the dentist twice a year is completely normal. I mean, yeah, it's a little uncomfortable, but it's normal. And so it seems fitting, of course, for intercultural communication to learn not just about other people's cultures, but how other people view my culture. And understanding, it helped me understand to be not so harsh when looking at someone else's culture that might do things where I'm like, that's a little odd. And so the practice that I picked for American culture from an outsider perspective was Super Bowl Sunday. And so, for an outsider, Super Bowl Sunday at first might not seem like a super weird thing. Sports are very common all across the world. Of course, we have the Olympics. And so it's sort of like a very uniting thing around the world. But if you take a closer look at Super Bowl Sunday, you can see, of course, millions of Americans watch it every year. The fan base has only continued to grow, and it's about advertisements and celebrities and food and getting together. And, you know, we've been obsessing over these teams for the past 3 to 4 months and just waiting to see out of the 32 teams who's going to make it, who's going to get that title. So it could seem a little bit cultish even because we're so obsessed with these teams and we get so riled up and, you know, you see videos of like fans beating up other fans for losing a game. You know, Americans get so passionate and so fired up about that sort of thing that it could be considered weird and almost cultish how obsessed we can become with these teams, even though to us as Americans, oh, you're just a devoted fan. You know, it can be a little odd hearing an outsider's perspective for something that is so fundamental and important to us as a people. So how it's connected to U.S. values. Of course, American football, we're kind of the only country that plays the sport. It's sort of, in a way, our pastime. And, you know, you think about how it's about freedom. You know, we have the freedom to go to these games, to spend our money on thousands of dollars worth of tickets and merch and jerseys and all of these sorts of things. And we're so dedicated to it for these few months every single year. And it's about community and eating traditionally American foods such as wings and pizza and chips and beer and all of these sort of things, and getting together and hanging out with our friends and being able to enjoy that ability to watch these things on TV, which not everyone has access to. We can kind of take it for granted at times, how we are so blessed as a nation to be able to have that freedom to get together and make noise and be loud and do all of these sorts of things. It's very fundamentally American. Some ways that the Super Bowl has changed over the years. The biggest one, of course, is within viewership. The viewership has skyrocketed, as has the population, since 1967 when the first Super Bowl happened. And so with an increase in viewership, all of the other changes increased as well. Advertisements are one of the biggest additions to the Super Bowl, because even if you don't necessarily like sports, you like the ads. And then, of course, you have the halftime shows, which usually features a big name like Kendrick Lamar or Rihanna or even Snoop Dogg. You know, it's sort of a day where everyone can get together and everyone can find something that they enjoy. And so as far as if I see these changes, as beneficial or not, I consider them to be quite beneficial. There's an article by Temple University, and there was an interview with a woman named Jennifer Freeman, and this is what she had to say about the Super Bowl. The Super Bowl is so unflappable when compared to some of the other big events because it's a magnet for sports fans. But it's not just sports fans. It's one of those few cultural campfire moments in our society, because there are very few moments when we all get together. And so saying it's like a cultural campfire, it's like we're all sitting around the TV. We're all making s'mores, if you will. We're all just having fun. It's like there's no division. And even if your team didn't make it or your team didn't win the Super Bowl, it's like, hey, there's always next year. And it's a really nice time. To eat food, of course, and to watch the game, but you're getting to talk with one another, and you're getting to learn things about the people that you love that maybe you didn't know. And like I said earlier, compared to other holidays, there's just so much less stress that is applied onto whoever's hosting, because everyone's bringing a dish, everyone's bringing something to drink. It's just a time of community and fellowship for Americans, and that's why I think it's such a staple, because A, it's something that's been building up for months, but B, because it's a time that there's no expectations and there's no fear of sort of, oh, well, I made this dish wrong. It's like, no, you didn't make a dish, you brought wings, and it's a really special time within American culture, and it makes sense why it has grown as much as it has, because it's become so much more than just a game. And that is my presentation.